The number of complaints that we've referred to public for public hearings was 3. And those ones are normally heard by the Media Complaints Committee. Most of the complaints were made against the Namibian newspaper, followed by the Namibian Sun, and then New Era, and so forth. Just last week, I had one, the week before my term of office, had one against the Republican. And only one during my reign against the Allgemeine Zeitung. I must say, during my reign, there was a 99.9 compliance rate with the rulings of the Media Ombudsman or even the Complaints Committee. As I've already mentioned, only one case during the period was taken to the High Court to review. This, after I've listened to, and I don't see them, I so much hope they would have been here. The gold, what is the man's name? B2 Golds of this world. Are they here still? And all those other mines. Those ones with the deep pockets. Last year, for the first time in the media and elections history of the country, we've launched a very ambitious project as part of what the code is saying. The code is saying during elections and referenda, the media shall act fairly and not discriminate against any political party, candidate, whether from a political party or running even as an independent. And as part of that mandate, we embarked upon a very ambitious media monitoring project. Proud to say, about 2 weeks ago, we've launched, as part of that project, 12 reports. This main one, that is the main funding. Remember, we had monthly reports where we would report on how the media was reporting on election-related issues from June last year until December last year. And this is the final one that makes it 7. And then, in addition to that, we came out with 4 briefing papers to show that as part of democracy, it is not just going to the booths and voting. Democracy is also about, for example, strong institutions like the ECN and so forth. So we had this, but that is not my point. The point is, scandalous to say, this project cost us roughly 800,000 Namibian dollars. One Namibian company was prepared to fund. And when it came to the actual funding, getting a 5,000 from the 180 that they committed, getting a 5,000 to pay for the catering service was so difficult that we decided, let's stop this. So what I'm trying to say, this ambitious project was 99% foreign funded by the European Union, by the FES, and there's another one, can't think of, by the UNDP. Shame on us. Shame on all of us, especially those ones with deep pockets. especially those ones with deep pockets. If it is true that what Justice Waitela is saying, in the case of the media ombudsman versus John Nakuta, now the NBC versus the media ombudsman, again he says, and he gives the critical role that media self-regulation is playing. He says the media ombudsman, the complaints committee, and the media appeals committee, though they may be voluntary and private voluntary association, they discharge an important public function. Remember the first thing that we said about the fourth estate? That statement, the judiciary is calling us to look very differently on how we view self-regulation in our country. If it is really so important, then we must begin to do things differently, as our president is calling us all to do. Doing things in an unusual manner. How? And I'm saying going beyond the rhetoric. Not just saying and glorifying the fourth estate. How do we do it? I spent a week somewhere in June in Brussels and also in Berlin. Learned in, for example, in these two countries, they've got a law that just with a stroke of a sentence recognize the self-regulatory role that the media is playing. And because of that importance, there's a law that says there shall be a budget vote for media self-regulation. As part of, for example, in our case, we are already doing it, but in the context of housing. The Czech Dwellers Federation of Namibia, and we thank the government for that. In order to address the housing problem, the national budget, at least for the past 10 years or what, is allocating 10 million towards the Czech Dwellers Federation, so as to address the housing problem. If you recognize the importance of media self-regulation, we say, the government of the Republic of Namibia, begin to do things differently. Fund media self-regulation. It cannot be right that media self-regulation is funded by foreigners. It cannot be right. We've got other countries that are using state coffers to fund media self-regulation. So, I've mentioned already the notion of corporate, how do you say it? Corporate social responsibility. It cannot be right that we've got all these mining companies, the banks with their foundations, but no one is prepared to fund self-regulation. We must begin to reimagine media self-regulation if we really believe in the importance role that the media is playing. Because when Rome is burning, or when Rome will be burning, if the media is not there anymore, it would not be a good place to be. So basically what I'm saying, and I want to quote the president, I'm paraphrasing him. If we really want to do things differently, then I'm saying we should end the dependency by funding media freedom from within. My second last slide, almost. The next part of the presentation on media, and I'm not going to dwell too much on this. I was asked to talk about the idea of mis- and disinformation. Now, mis- and disinformation cannot be disassociated from the notion of information integrity. When we talk about information integrity in broad terms, it is determined by the accuracy, consistency, and reliability of information content, processes, and systems to maintain a healthy information ecosystem. And in the words of the United Nations, the UN, it says that if there is a healthy information ecosystem, then this is the outcome. I don't know why it doesn't show. Societal trust and resilience, healthy incentives, public that is empowered. Then you will have independent, free, and pluralistic media. And of course, you will have transparency and much greater vigorous research. Then we talk about information integrity. Information integrity is bedeviled by at least three things. In terms of pollution, which one of the briefing papers that we've produced dealt very specifically with the issue of mis- and disinformation. It was produced by Dr. Philip Santos. What do we mean with information pollution? Occurs and is determined verifiably false, misleading, and manipulated content on or offline, which is created, produced, and disseminated intentionally or unintentionally, and which has the potential to cause harm. And this normally takes three forms. The form of disinformation, and I'm not going to lecture you, you've heard about this. We know disinformation is information that is false and deliberately creates to harm a person, social group, organization, or a country. And we found that it was quite a thing during the elections. The next one is the issue of misinformation. Misinformation is information that is false, but not created with the intention of causing harm. The other one, intentionally spreading false information. And then another one that I've only recently learned is malinformation. Now we know what mal means. Mal basically means something that is bad or evil. Now when we talk apparently about malinformation, it's information that is based on real facts. It's not manufactured. It's based on real facts, but manipulated to inflict harm on a person, organization, or even a country. Think about the 47 of them? 47 that left South Africa, reporting South Africa to Trump, saying there's a white genocide. They know there is no white genocide in South Africa. Mr. Trump knows it, but he believes it for whatever reason. So that is the kind of malinformation that we're talking about. One of the cases that I'm leaving very deliberately for the incoming media ombudsman, who will be determined tomorrow. We had interviews on Tuesday. The EFN is sitting tomorrow. Announcement will be made next week. In June, I've received a complaint from the Ministry of Health and Social Service. And I said to myself, given the fact that I'm busy with my exit report, I really don't have much time to apply my mind to this complaint because it's serious. I would rather keep it open as a file for the media ombudsman, the new media ombudsman, to adjudicate over this. And maybe I can sit in as an assessor to assist, but the final decision rests with him. So, your homework, I don't know whether you've read this, in your own time. We spoke about media pollution, taking three forms: either misinformation, disinformation, or malinformation. Now, if you were to go back and reread this this article, and as I said, the Ministry of Health also complained about, later official complaint about it. So we will have to decide what to do about this. Very serious allegations. I'm not going to express myself on it so as not to jump the gun. Right, I think, and now I want to come closer home. To the PROs. Is it PROs? Public Relation Officers. One of the complaints that I've received is that getting information from government officials is one of the most difficult things in Namibia. And then you complain, you are misquoted, you are taken out of context. Remember, one of the judges in America, way back, they say, in 1913, made that quote. And he said, sunlight is the best disinfectant. What he meant in that context, apparently, was that transparency he called for, or he used that to stress the importance of transparency in government and business practices. And for him, he used the analogy of the sunlight disinfecting properties. For him, he said, transparency and exposure can eliminate corruption and wrongdoing wherever it occurs. Shining light on that. So exposing wrongdoing to public scrutiny. So exposing wrongdoing to public scrutiny purifies it. Similarly, just like how sunlight disinfects. For me, it's powerful. So if you don't want to be misquoted, be transparent. When I was doing my PhD, I went to the Ministry of Lands. And there was this young man that said, "But John, we know you. What do you want to do with this information? Because you are going to use this information to attack us." That is the mentality. This is what the African Commission says. Public bodies hold information not for themselves, but as custodians of the public good. The information that you have is not the minister's information. It's not your information. It's the public's information. You are only holding it as a custodian. Because remember, the information that you produced was made by our tax money. That is where the notion of public good comes in. The dictionary meaning of public good. Public good is a commodity of service that means it is available to all members of a society, typically administered by government and paid for collectively through taxation. That is why we are saying the right to information is not benevolence. You are not doing us a favor by providing information. You are not, it's not benevolence, it's not charity. It is a fundamental human right. Access to information. I want to conclude with the access to information, whatever that I've skipped. Having said that, and I was really hoping the minister and members of parliament would have been here. Because I want to ask them, why is it that already in December 2022, we have passed one of the most progressive pieces of legislation in Namibia, called the Access to Information Act. We are 5 months away from December. Then it would be 3 years, and it is still not implemented. Why don't you implement this? Tell us why. Parliament, we are informed the Ministry of, is it MITC? They have done their part. The hurdle, apparently, is with the Parliament. You must advertise. Why don't you advertise? For the minister, no law can be implemented without you signing it into law. Mr. Minister, Madam Minister, why don't you sign the Access to Information Act into law? Should it suffer the same fate as the Whistleblower Protection Act that has been passed in 2017 already? And we are now how many years? 8 years later, and it is not implemented. It cannot be. Is it a case of business unusual? We are saying some of us fell in love with the mantra of business unusual. Show us, parliamentarians, show us, Madam Minister, that is, show us, Madam President, that it is indeed business unusual. Operationalize the Access to Information Act. Then we will believe what you say, that it is business unusual. In conclusion, thank you very much. You've seen a young boy here during lunch. He's taller than me. He's my son. He's only 14 years old. But I look at him like this. He's staying with a mom in Holland, and they speak Dutch, obviously. And in Dutch, they say, dank jij wel. So thank you very much. Over to you. Good.
A round of applause for Dr. Nakuta. Much appreciated, Doc, for that insightful presentation. I think we all learned something today. Misinformation, malinformation, disinformation. Thank you so much, Doc. I would like to believe maybe we might be able to entertain 2, 3, 4 questions, if there is any amongst the audience. Okay, Mario, may you kindly help me with the roaming mic?
Thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Nakuta, for such an insightful presentation. Mine is really short. It's actually just, my name is Lydia Mtenga from City of Windhoek. I just want to say I will sincerely forgive you for the times that I was trying to reach out to your office and you cannot reach me back, because now you have just explained why. I mean, how do you work as a person with yourself only? And with a $5,000 budget, I think I really forgave you for that. But thank you very much. I learned a lot from your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia.
Thank you, Doc. One of the guys that I admire a lot and inspired me a lot since I was a young boy, when I was still reading newspapers, I used to read his articles. Dr. Nakuta, there's a serious suppression of information, and one of the key enablers of this mis- and malinformation is NBC and the newspapers. I'm speaking from a premise of personal experience. Never have any of you read that I was with the NAMDEP up till the level of Supreme Court. Never covered. Why it was never covered is, NAMDEP is sitting with a deep corruption in itself in the diamond industry. So the exposure of such, when NAMDEP is partly owned by the state, which is using taxpayers' money to invest 50% of NAMDEP. So the deep corruption that exists is that NAMDEP's financials are never published since its establishment. Today we saw when Huzab was presenting and B2 Gold how much they invest, what is it, the tax that they are paying, how things are going. De Beers, which own shares in NAMDEP, is publishing their financials. NBC, along with the newspapers, which I don't read, is part of those that suppresses information to the extent that they will protect the corrupt as much as possible. So there is a royalty tax remission that NAMDEP got from NAMRA and the government of 1.2 billion. Tom Alwendo fails to, no, I'm giving you the whole story. Tom Alwendo gives an energy generation license to Omdis, which is a shadow local authority of Oranjemund. And NAMDEP spends that 1.2 million, it gets into energy generation, and it supplies electricity to NAMDEP, and as well as Oranjemund. So to expose these deep corrupt practices of our mining company, where the government owns, audit reports and financials are never published and monies are going. Why are we still promoting media freedom where it exists? Not at all. Because it is selectively applied, and for me personally, the score that we get in terms of media freedom and practices is really not reflecting the true reality. So, Dr. John, why is NBC, as well as the newspapers, who are partly owned by political parties, still in existence and can't be regulated to stop ticking the boxes of negative communication theory that they are always applying, because they are not the true reflection of what media communication should look like? I thank you.
Any final question before Doc can take all three at once? Okay, sure.
Right. Thank you very much. Thanks, Lydia. That was just a comment, I suppose. But thanks for understanding. It's really a challenge, and the municipality should support the self-regulation. It's really serious. If all of us should really begin to support it. But I appreciate your comments. My brother, remember, the media ombudsman is having jurisdiction over what has been reported, not what is not being reported. So, in fact, the gentleman that is now in Parliament was one of the first politicians. What is his name? Mr. Lucato. In 2000, when was it? In 2018, 2019 that we had our elections. Is it 19? Is it 18 or 19? 19. He complained and said that he would call, I'm just using that as an example. He complained that he would call the NBC, he would call newspapers to come and cover his rallies. They would come and they won't report anything on his rallies. And then he complained. And I told him, but I can't do anything. Because there's also this notion of editorial independence, where based on whatever criteria they decide in terms of, and Christoph and the others are better placed, Peter, them, may be in a better position to explain to you the notion of editorial independence. But not even the media ombudsman can dictate to a media house on what to report and what not to report on. So if it is that the NBC is not finding value in the kind of things that you complain about, to be very honest, the media ombudsman does not have jurisdiction, at least for those two reasons. One, that it is only about media complaints in terms of reportage, and the notion of editorial independence. That's how I would answer that question. Good. But otherwise, thank you very much.